I'm Kyle Bowen. I'm Director of Informatics at Purdue University. We develop new learning technologies that help take advantage of the tools that students already bring with them to class or have with them as they move around move around inside their learning environments.
Okay, so how do you find and define new opportunities while working on these projects?
Great question. So what we do is we work with our faculty and some of our best teachers, and we learn from them about what their instructional challenges are. And we don't lead that conversation in terms of what technologies might work well inside of their classrooms, but we lead that conversation with where are their students having challenges, what kinds of topics are they struggling to reach their students on, and then from there we begin to develop some ideas, and these ideas formulate into what we call a theme. And these themes are short stories, typically a paragraph in length, and we can talk with faculty around these ideas because many times, educational technology isn't necessarily their area of expertise. It's in whatever their domain of study is. And so what we can do is kind of expose them to some different ideas and get them to react to that. And sometimes it's not what they're looking for, but sometimes it's exactly what they're looking for. And so what we ultimately want to do is try and solve what are those instructional challenges that many different faculty have in diverse disciplines.
Okay, so once you, for example, implemented these projects, is there a specific measure of effectiveness or measure of performance available, or?
Sure. So what we want to look at, and this is a key challenge early on as part of creation of the technology, is it needs to be designed and developed from day one to be able to capture the data, capture the analytics that we can use to measure the effectiveness of the tool. If we can't measure it, then there's very little value in creating it in the first place. With that data in hand, it becomes a part of working with the instructor to measure those aspects of the course that they were looking to influence. So in the case of our hot seat tool, where the intent was to improve engagement in the classroom, we will look heavily at social presence as a measure of that. To say, are students able to interact with one another? Are they able to understand what other students in the class were thinking, or were they able to express their ideas clearly? These kinds of things. So it really depends on the tool and what the instructor is wanting to accomplish as far as what helps measure or meet those goals.
Okay, very good. So say we plan to develop a global education information system, or literacy information system. What would be the challenges, and how would be sort of effective to everyone who's in seek of education?
Sure. So when you're looking at any global system, your first challenge is really internationalization. So how do we begin to deliver information or content in whatever form it needs to be and to be consumed on the other end? And that in itself is a grand challenge to be solved. But then the next level of that is then how do we create interactions between people, between students that may exist in different areas of the world, and help them build relationships, taking into account whatever their local whatever their local custom may be related to those interactions. So there are a lot of challenges when looking at kind of globalization of some of this technology, because what works in one place may not necessarily work in another.
So how would you define an ideal learner into this technologically integrated world?
Sure. The ideal learner is one that is taking an active role in their learning. Not all students come to learning easily. It's something that they kind of have to work at. And that's where I think the ideal learner is one that works at learning the same way that they work at studying for a test, or they may work at working on their coursework. That learning is something in itself that needs to be learned.
So what's your message for the learners, regardless of what country they are in?
Sure, is to kind of take control of that experience and reach out to those around you, seek help when it's needed, and take full advantage of the tools and the people that are around you to help get the information you need, or help kind of create the experience that you need. Because the key there at the end of the day is to take ownership of your own learning process.